The Book of Exodus, Chapter 1. These are the names of the sons of Israel, who accompanied by their households migrated with Jacob into Egypt: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. The total number of the direct descendants of Jacob was 70. Joseph was already in Egypt. Now Joseph and all his brothers and that whole generation died, but the Israelites were fruitful and prolific. They became so numerous and strong that the land was filled with them. Then a new king, who knew nothing of Joseph, came to power in Egypt. He said to his subjects, "Look how numerous and powerful the Israelite people are growing, more so than we ourselves. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them to stop their increase. Otherwise, in time of war, they too may join our enemies to fight against us, and so leave our country." Accordingly, taskmasters were set over the Israelites to oppress them with forced labor. Thus they had to build for Pharaoh the supply cities of Pithom and Ramses. Yet the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread. The Egyptians then dreaded the Israelites, and reduced them to cruel slavery, making life bitter for them with hard work in mortar and brick and all kinds of field work, the whole cruel fate of slaves. The king of Egypt told the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was called Shiphrah and the other Puah, "When you act as midwives for the Hebrew women and see them giving birth, if it is a boy, kill him. But if it is a girl, she may live." The midwives, however, feared God. They did not do as the king of Egypt had ordered them, but let the boys live. So the king summoned the midwives and asked them, "Why have you acted thus, allowing the boys to live?" The midwives answered Pharaoh, "The Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. They are robust and give birth before the midwife arrives. Therefore God dealt well with the midwives. The people too increased and grew strong, and because the midwives feared God, he built up families for them." Pharaoh then commanded all his subjects, "Throw into the river every boy that is born to the Hebrews, but you may let all the girls live." Chapter 2. Now a certain man of the house of Levi married a Levite woman, who conceived and bore a son. Seeing that he was a goodly child, she hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she took a papyrus basket, daubed it with bitumen and pitch, and putting the child in it, placed it among the reeds of the river bank. His sister stationed herself at a distance to find out what would happen to him. Pharaoh's daughter came down to the river to bathe while her maids walked along the river bank. Noticing the basket among the reeds, she sent her handmaid to fetch it. On opening it, she looked, and lo, there was a baby boy crying. She was moved with pity for him and said, "It is one of the Hebrews' children." Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call one of the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" "Yes, do so," she answered. So the maiden went and called the child's own mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse it for me, and I will repay you." The woman therefore took the child and nursed it. When the child grew, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her son, and called him Moses, for she said, "I drew him out of the water." On one occasion, after Moses had grown up, when he visited his kinsmen and witnessed their forced labor, he saw an Egyptian striking a Hebrew, one of his own kinsmen. Looking about and seeing no one, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. The next day he went out again, and now 2 Hebrews were fighting, so he asked the culprit, "Why are you striking your fellow Hebrew?" But he replied, "Who has appointed you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses became afraid and thought, "The affair must certainly be known." Pharaoh too heard of the affair and sought to put him to death, but Moses fled from him and stayed in the land of Midian. As he was seated there by a well, 7 daughters of a priest of Midian came to draw water and fill the troughs to water their father's flock. But some shepherds came and drove them away. Then Moses got up and defended them and watered their flock. When they returned to their father Reuel, he said to them, "How is it you have returned so soon today?" They answered, An Egyptian saved us from the interference of the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock. Where is the man? He asked his daughters. Why did you leave him there? Invite him to have something to eat. Moses agreed to live with him, and the man gave him his daughter Zipporah in marriage. She bore him a son, whom he named Gershom, for he said, I am a stranger in a foreign land. A long time passed, during which the king of Egypt died. Still the Israelites groaned and cried out because of their slavery. As their cry for release went up to God, he heard their groaning and was mindful of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He saw the Israelites and knew. Chapter 3. Meanwhile, Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro, the priest of Midian. Leading the flock across the desert, he came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There an angel of the Lord appeared to him in fire, flaming out of a bush. As he looked on, he was surprised to see that the bush, though on fire, was not consumed. So Moses decided, I must go over to look at this remarkable sight and see why the bush is not burned. When the Lord saw him coming over to look at it more closely, God called out to him from the bush, Moses, Moses. He answered, Here I am. God said, Come no nearer. Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground. I am the God of your father. He continued, The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. But the Lord said, I have witnessed the affliction of my people in Egypt, and have heard their cry of complaint against their slave drivers. So I know well what they are suffering. Therefore I have come down to rescue them from the hands of the Egyptians, and lead them out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the country of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. So indeed the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have truly noted that the Egyptians are oppressing them. Come now, I will send you to Pharaoh to lead my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and lead the Israelites out of Egypt? He answered, I will be with you, and this shall be your proof that it is I who have sent you. When you bring my people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this very mountain. But, said Moses to God, when I go to the Israelites and say to them, The God of your fathers has sent me to you, if they ask me, What is his name? What am I to tell them? God replied, I am who am. Then he added, This is what you shall tell the Israelites. I am sent me to you. God spoke further to Moses, Thus shall you say to the Israelites, The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever. This is my title for all generations. Go and assemble the elders of the Israelites, and tell them, The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has appeared to me and said, I am concerned about you and about the way you are being treated in Egypt. So I have decided to lead you out of the misery of Egypt into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey. Thus they will heed your message. Then you and the elders of Israel shall go to the king of Egypt and say to him, The Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has sent us word. Permit us then to go a 3 days' journey in the desert, that we may offer sacrifice to the Lord our God. Yet I know that the king of Egypt will not allow you to go unless he is forced. I will stretch out my hand, therefore, and smite Egypt,
by doing all kinds of wondrous deeds there. After that, he will send you away. I will even make the Egyptians so well disposed towards this people that, when you leave, you will not go empty-handed. Every woman shall ask her neighbor and her house guest for silver and gold articles, and for clothing to put on your sons and daughters. Thus you will despoil the Egyptians.
Chapter 4. But, objected Moses, suppose they will not believe me, nor listen to my plea, for they may say, the Lord did not appear to you. The Lord therefore asked him,
What is that in your hand?
A staff, he answered. The Lord then said,
Throw it on the ground.
When he threw it on the ground, it was changed into a serpent, and Moses shied away from it.
Now put out your hand,
the Lord said to him,
and take hold of its tail.
So he put out his hand and laid hold of it, and it became a staff in his hand.
This will take place so that they may believe,
he continued,
that the Lord, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, did appear to you.
Again the Lord said to him,
Put your hand in your bosom.
He put it in his bosom, and when he withdrew it, to his surprise, his hand was leprous, like snow. The Lord then said,
Now put your hand back in your bosom.
Moses put his hand back in his bosom, and when he withdrew it, to his surprise, it was again like the rest of his body.
If they will not believe you, nor heed the message of the first sign, they should believe the message of the second. And if they will not believe even these two signs, nor heed your plea, take some water from the river and pour it on the dry land. The water you take from the river will become blood on the dry land.
Moses, however, said to the Lord, If you please, Lord, I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor recently, nor now that you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and tongue. The Lord said to him,
Who gives one man speech and makes another deaf and dumb? Or who gives sight to one and makes another blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Go then, it is I who will assist you in speaking, and will teach you what you are to say.
Yet he insisted, If you please, Lord, send someone else. Then the Lord became angry with Moses and said,
Have you not your brother Aaron the Levite? I know that he is an eloquent speaker. Besides, he is now on his way to meet you. When he sees you, his heart will be glad. You are to speak to him then, and put the words in his mouth. I will assist both you and him in speaking, and will teach the two of you what you are to do. He shall speak to the people for you. He shall be your spokesman, and you shall be as God to him. Take this staff in your hand. With it you are to perform the signs.
After this, Moses returned to his father-in-law Jethro, and said to him, Let me go back, please, to my kinsmen in Egypt, to see whether they are still living. Jethro replied, Go in peace. In Midian, the Lord said to Moses,
Go back to Egypt, for all the men who sought your life are dead.
So Moses took his wife and his sons and started back to the land of Egypt, with them riding the ass. The staff of God he carried with him. The Lord said to him,
On your return to Egypt, see that you perform before Pharaoh all the wonders I have put in your power. I will make him obstinate, however, so that he will not let the people go. So you shall say to Pharaoh, Thus says the Lord, Israel is my son, my firstborn. Hence I tell you, let my son go, that he may serve me. If you refuse to let him go, I warn you, I will kill your son, your firstborn.
On the journey, at a place where they spent the night, the Lord came upon Moses and would have killed him. But Zipporah took a piece of flint and cut off her son's foreskin, and touching his person, she said, You are a spouse of blood to me. Then God let Moses go. At that time, she said, a spouse of blood, in regard to the circumcision. The Lord said to Aaron,
"Go into the desert to meet Moses."
So he went, and when they met at the mountain of God, Aaron kissed him. Moses informed him of all the Lord had said in sending him, and of the various signs he had enjoined upon him. Then Moses and Aaron went and assembled all the elders of the Israelites. Aaron told them everything the Lord had said to Moses, and he performed the signs before the people. The people believed, and when they heard that the Lord was concerned about them and had seen their affliction, they bowed down in worship. Chapter 5. After that, Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go, that they may celebrate a feast to me in the desert." Pharaoh answered, "Who is the Lord that I should heed his plea to let Israel go?" They replied, "The God of the Hebrews has sent us word. Let us go a 3 days' journey in the desert, that we may offer sacrifice to the Lord our God. Otherwise he will punish us with pestilence or the sword." The king of Egypt answered them, "What do you mean, Moses and Aaron, by taking the people away from their work? Off to your labor. Look how numerous the people of the land are already," continued Pharaoh, "and yet you would give them rest from their labor." That very day, Pharaoh gave the taskmasters and foremen of the people this order: "You shall no longer supply the people with straw for their brick-making, as you have previously done. Let them go and gather straw themselves. Yet you shall levy upon them the same quota of bricks as they have previously made. Do not reduce it. They are lazy. That is why they are crying, 'Let us go to offer sacrifice to our God.' Increase the work for the men, so that they keep their mind on it and pay no attention to lying words." So the taskmasters and foremen of the people went out and told them, "Thus says Pharaoh, I will not provide you with straw. Go and gather the straw yourselves, wherever you can find it. Yet there must not be the slightest reduction in your work." The people then scattered throughout the land of Egypt to gather stubble for straw, while the taskmasters kept driving them on, saying, "Finish your work, the same daily amount as when your straw was supplied." The foremen of the Israelites, whom the taskmasters of Pharaoh had placed over them, were beaten, and were asked, "Why have you not completed your prescribed amount of bricks yesterday and today, as before?" Then the Israelite foremen came and made this appeal to Pharaoh: "Why do you treat your servants in this manner? No straw is supplied to your servants, and still we are told to make bricks. Look how your servants are beaten. It is you who are at fault." Pharaoh answered, "It is just because you are lazy that you keep saying, 'Let us go and offer sacrifice to the Lord.' Off to work then. Straw shall not be provided for you, but you must still deliver your quota of bricks." The Israelite foremen knew they were in a sorry plight, having been told not to reduce the daily amount of bricks. When therefore they left Pharaoh and came upon Moses and Aaron, who were waiting to meet them, they said to them, "The Lord look upon you and judge. You have brought us into bad odor with Pharaoh and his servants, and have put a sword in their hands to slay us." Moses again had recourse to the Lord and said, "Lord, why do you treat this people so badly? And why did you send me on such a mission? Ever since I went to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has maltreated this people of yours, and you have done nothing to rescue them."